a little bit too close to the edge of beyond the capability of the cutter, so it truncated that and then came around here. It won't matter, this is just a spacer, so as long as these holes line up, it'll be fine. But need to pay attention to how far over I can go. The sheet's not really centered on the table, it's too far this way, which I guess I need to pay attention to that. Okay, so this will at least work. Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Frank here, picking up again on the Cub Cadet Mini Dozer. If you haven't been following along, we've finished the main frame, the controls for the drive mechanism, and we're working on the frame which will support the tracks. We've got the drive sprockets and the idler wheel finished, and working now on what will be the tensioner wheel. The tensioner wheel will sit up here, and we'll have a lever on it that we can tension the track. So this is the tension wheel. The chain for the track rides in here, and these are the arms which support the wheel. This is just a wooden mock-up, which I'm going to take off here in a minute. And that helped me figure out the spacing and the size and that sort of thing. So I'm in the process of attaching the bearings to these arms which will support the tension wheel. And so let's go ahead. I got these bolts were just temporary. I've got some shorter bolts that we're going to put in here. Assembly. Right now I'm working on the flanged bearings that will support the wheel. The plasma cutter cut out holes for this, but they were undersized, so I'm going back with a carbide drill bit and drilling them out. The holes in the flange are 1/2 inch. The PDF diagram of this bearing that I downloaded from McMaster showed these holes at 3/8 of an inch. So that's what I had specified in the plasma for the plasma cutter, to cut the holes to just over 3/8. So I'm going ahead and drilling them out to 1/2 inch. I've clamped the bearing to the support arm, and I drilled the first 2 holes. And I've gone ahead and dropped bolts in there to maintain the alignment. So I drilled the next 2 holes. So that's the next thing I'm going to do, is drill a couple holes. So this drill bit is actually a carbide tipped drill bit. I've used, and I just got this from McMaster, I've used solid carbide drill bits, though smaller than this, and they're very brittle, and they tend to break if you get them out of alignment or twist them or something. The bit will just break in half. Now, the ones I was using before were 1/4 inch or 5/16. This is 1/2. I think this is less expensive than the solid carbide drill bit of this size. And I'm wondering if the fact that it's just carbide tipped and it's steel, probably high-speed steel. The rest of the shank, the rest of the bit, makes it a little stronger to withstand any twisting. But it does pretty well. Let's see here. We'll go through this hole. All right, so those are not the actual bolts I'm going to use, but certainly that aligns up fine. Get the other one and do the same thing with that. I'll need to get some shorter 1/2-inch bolts. I like as much as possible to drill, you know, match holes, at least use this as a guide to drill the holes to make sure they all fit. But I don't think I can get enough drill pressure with the hand drill in the vise like I did for the first one. So I think for this one I'm going to do it a different way. I got it clamped in the mill here with a couple parallels underneath it, so it's perpendicular to the axis of the drill. And I think I can line up on this one hole and then use the DRO to space the 2.75 inches this way, 2.75 inches, because these holes are 2.75 inches on center or apart, and I think I can get plenty accurate that way. We'll see. I think it will work fine. You get on this first hole. The important thing is that the holes be in a square arrangement, 2.75 inches apart, which certainly the DRO can do. I don't have any question about that. It's the relationship of this set of holes on here, and that's not really critical. I think if that's within, you know, 50/1000, 1/16 of an inch, it will be fine. The bearings are self-aligning, so there's, you know, some ability to take up any differences. So, and in terms of the accuracy of welding up this arm assembly and everything, you know, it's not going to be perfect. So I think can get pretty darn close here. All right, much easier to do it that way. Let me get the bolts, we'll see how it fits. All right, so that's definitely an easier way to do it than trying to drill it by hand. Okay, let's take these out and go back to the bench. And this assembly is somewhat temporary at this point in time. All right, I need to look at the fit up here. And the distance between these two arms. Relative to this plate. I cut this plate to 4.5 inches. Probably clearly prematurely without knowing what the spacing would be here. So I simply have to make a new plate. Let's see if we can clamp this up to the box frame and see how it fits. I'm going to get a couple more C-clamps on this arm to see if I can secure it better. So, of course, this is not complete. I do need one more washer over on this side to get a little bit of clearance between these bolt heads. And, of course, there's a web, a metal plate, which runs between these two from down here to here. And then there is the tensioner turnbuckle, which will push between here and someplace down here on the box frame. I'm also considering, the possibility that if I can figure out, run the tensioner from here up to some point higher, rather than have it down here where I wouldn't have as much mechanical advantage. I might wind up putting it up here. It'd be cleaner to put it down here, lower, but I'm not sure, if I can get as much tension on. It depends on how much tension I need and how stiff this support arm turns out to be. Let's see if we can put a section of chain around this. Here I've got the chain looped over the wheels. It's not obviously tensioned or tight or anything, and I'm looking at the position of the trackpad relative to the seat. It clears the seat, but I think I may either want to raise the seat a couple, 3 inches to be above this, or maybe lower this wheel if I can. So my criteria for the height of this wheel is more about being able to achieve the difference in the chain length by moving the wheel. Pivoting this whole wheel down needs to shorten the chain by as much as 2 links, 5.2 inches. That way I always know, no matter how, since I don't know the exact length of chain yet, I do need to have at least 5 inches of adjustment, so that no matter, I can always take, I have to take them out in links out in pairs, so it's necessary to have that much adjustment in order to be sure I'll be able to tension the chain. So this height here, from here down to the pivot point, is important because of the distance this travels as it arcs down when you detension it. So I need to work that out and make sure I have enough enough ability to take up slack in the chain. But to be honest, I think the position looks about right, just like that. So all right, I may lower it 1 inch or 2. I think I have room on the box beam for this pivot point to go down about 2 inches, so I think I'll bring this down about 2 inches, or at least 1 inch, and then we'll raise the seat 1 inch. I just want to make sure there's clearance and not a hazard for the operator to get hit by the tracks. So I think probably lower it by 1 inch and then raise the seat by a couple more inches. That'll raise the seat above the level of the track, which I think is a good idea. Okay, we'll come back in a few minutes. I've been out of the shop for a couple days on some working on some other hobbies that I've got. Been pretty busy, but I'm back on the Bogey carrier design. So I did spend better part of a day working out the dimensions and fabrication specs for what I plan, or what I think will be the first of 6 Bogey carriers. I'm planning to have 3 carriers on each side of the tractor and 4 wheels on each carrier, so a dozen bogies, and it's basically bogey on each side of the track in 6 different places down the length of the track under the box beam. I just finished cutting out a bunch of parts here on the plasma table. These are actually the larger webs for the tensioner, for the track tensioner arms. Then these 5 pieces here are for the bogies. So I'll pull them off, we'll set them up and see what they look like. This is what the Bogey carrier basically is going to look like with some slight modifications. The plan is to have these inside plates drilled and tapped. The bolts will go through the axles. There's a sleeve here on the Bogey wheel. It's also got a grease fitting for the bearings. And this sleeve is a little bit wider than the hub, so when the bolt goes through it and pulls the plates together, it'll bottom out on that sleeve and not bind the wheel up. And if I drill and tap this, put some Loctite on it, I can cut these bolts flush with the inside so it won't interfere with the chain. The chain, remember, this will be upside down. This will be turned over. This bottom plate here will actually be up against the box frame. I have other plates. I have 4 identical plates like this, and they'll all be outside plates. For inside plates, I've got blanks that I will drill and tap for these holes on the inside. So I'm going to go do that, drill and tap these plates, and then we'll assemble this and tack it up and test fit it on the box frame. So this is one of the outside plates. Don't need to be perfect, just need to be close. That one was a little bit wet. Okay. So those are the holes. I'm going to drill and tap them for 1/2 13, which is what these bolts are, what I've been using. All right, we'll go to the mill and drill these. All right, so this is one of the Bogey plates, and I've got the holes marked. I've got this end flush against the edge of the vise, so I'll just be able to flip this over and locate the other hole. Should be symmetrical. Throw the other plate on here just to verify. Yep. It's a shame because I've got ultimately have a bunch of these to do. So it may look lopsided, but that's because this hole is off center on this handle, so the handle isn't straight over the tap. Okay. All right, I'll need to do that. Let's see. That's 4 times. You do that 20 more times. Okay, so with that, we can start to assemble the first bogey carrier. All right, let's start to put one of these bogey carriers together. All right. Now remember that we'll be cutting these bolts off or getting shorter bolts. I think these are 2.5 inch. Maybe a 2-inch bolt would work. I don't think I have any of the right length, but these are longer than we need. So these are 3.5 inch bolts. Actually, yeah, 3.5, just shy of, the actual measurement is just a 1/16 less than 3.5. And I think, they're sticking out 1/2 inch. So if I get 3-inch bolts, I won't need to trim them. They'll be fine. I think they'll line up. And the only stresses on, these bolts are going to be back and forth. There's no tendency for them to come unscrewed or anything. So I think threading them into this plate with some Loctite, could use Loctite, is the simplest solution here. Need this to be flush for the chain to go through here. Okay, well, I'll need to get some 3-inch bolts. And when I assemble this, I need to make sure that the grease fittings always point out. I don't know which, I didn't look at these. Well, these point out as well. So here and here. So I'll be able to get to them to grease them. I think that's a decent solution for the bogey wheel carrier. I will need to get the 3-inch bolts and tack weld this together and attach it to the bottom of the box beam. The other tensioner wheel, I'm waiting on the tubing, the heavy wall tubing that goes around these bolts. So I can't assemble this until I get that tubing. McMaster, the first piece of tubing I ordered from McMaster car, and it came in a day. Now they're saying 5 to 7 weeks delivery. I did find another source online, Metals Warehouse or something like that, and ordered several pieces, and it's supposed to come right away. It was in stock, so I should get it in the next few days. So I'll be able to cut those to the 2.5-inch lengths as we did for the first tensioner wheel, and finish assembling this tensioner wheel. In order to finalize the position of this tensioner wheel, I need to have the bogies on the box frame, because that's going to determine the length of the track. So I've got one here. I need to order the rest of the wheels, and I didn't order all of them all at once because they're fairly expensive. I think they're $6 or $7 each. I mean, which I guess in the scheme of things is not that great. But I'll order another 8, and that'll let me finish one side of the tractor, and then assuming that works out, then I'll order the other additional 12 that I need to finish the second side of the tractor. I hesitate to order, all 20 more at this point until I'm sure, that they're gonna work out. All right, guys, that's all we have time for this week. We'll come back next time working some more on the Bogey carriers and get them installed. I need to order wheels for the other 2 carriers. There's 3 carriers per side of the tractor, so I need to get those, and I also need to get the proper size bolts. We'll weld them up and try to attach one to the box frame. We got a lot done this week. Got line of sight for the track tensioner system, and I can't finalize this until after I have the bogies installed. I won't know what the actual length of the chain or track will be until the bogies are on. Once I got the bogies on, I can set this on the floor with the chain underneath it and wrap the chain around it, figure out the actual length, and settle on the position for the track tensioner. If you have questions about how this thing is supposed to work, and I get a lot of questions, look at the questions that other people are asking in the comment section. If someone asks the same question 5 times, 5 different people ask the same question, I'm going to answer it once. You might want to go look at the other comments that people are leaving and see if your question is answered, by somebody else or answered for somebody else that's asked the same question. And it might help you, if you haven't seen some of the earlier videos, to go back and look at them, especially the first video, which is the design video, and then episodes, at least 3, 4, and 5 where I modify the drive system to work. So that will help you understand how this is set up. Episodes, I'm working on basically one episode a week, which amounts to about 3 days in the shop and almost a day of editing, and my other hobbies and responsibilities. Be sure to hit the thumbs up and the bell notification so you don't miss upcoming episodes, and of course subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.